I'm really loving this hamburger. I'm really hating Mondays. I am owning a new house. You are knowing another language. That dog is smelling really bad. All of these sentences are wrong. In English, some verbs are not really actions like most verbs. They're more like states. So, we don't really know if or when they're going to end. So we can't use them in the present continuous tense, or any continuous tense. We call these state verbs. So, what are state verbs? There are 4 categories of stated verbs. First, we have thoughts and opinions. Verbs like know, agree, believe, think, imagine, and understand. Then there's verbs that relate to possession. Things like have, own, belong, or possess. And then we have verbs that relate to likes and dislikes, feelings and emotions. Verbs like, love, prefer, dislike, want, need, or wish. And then there's verbs that relate to sensing and quantifying and measuring. Things like hear, see, seen, appear, look, taste, smell, and feel. And then for quantifying, we have things like weigh or measure. Here's some example sentences. I know the answer. She loves to read books. He owns a beautiful house. They dislike spicy food. Coffee smells fantastic. So you can see these verbs relate to the state of something and not really an action. So the state may change. It's not necessarily that it's permanent, but the person speaking or the subject doesn't control that change, and that's why they're called state verbs. So we don't use these verbs in the continuous tenses because the subject is not in control of when the action starts or finishes, because it's not an action, it's a state. With the continuous tenses, the action is in progress at the time of action, whether that's past, present, or future. We know when we speak that the action has started and will end. It's a temporary action. But with state verbs, we use them as if they're sort of a permanent state. Even though they may change, that change is not really within our control. If we do put those examples into the present continuous tense, see how they seem a bit wrong? I am knowing the answer. She is loving to read books. He is owning a beautiful house. They are disliking spicy food. Coffee is smelling fantastic. So you can see those sentences sound a bit wrong. They don't really make sense, or they don't sound natural. And this is because conceptually, the meaning of the verb is not consistent with the meaning of the tense that we're using. So at best, you're going to sound a little bit awkward if you do this. But at worst, you just sound wrong. So with the example, I am knowing the answer, when we know something, we talk about it as if it's a permanent thing. Yes, we might forget the answer, so it's not necessarily permanent, but we wouldn't be planning to forget it, and we wouldn't know when in the future we're going to forget it. So we can't use the present continuous tense. And with she is loving to read books, well, if she loves reading books, that's sort of a permanent thing. That's not likely to change. And if it does, again, it wouldn't be planned. He is owning a beautiful house. It would be better to say he owns a beautiful house. Because when we use the word own, although it's not technically permanent, He could sell the house. We talk about it as if it is like a permanent state. They are disliking spicy food. Well, when you have a preference and you don't like something, again, you might change. You might change your point of view. You might decide actually in the future you do like spicy food. But when you're saying it, you wouldn't know and you wouldn't be planning for that end of the action to happen. Coffee is smelling fantastic. Well, the smell of coffee doesn't really change. So if you think that smell is fantastic, then again, it's like a permanent state. You might decide one day that you don't like the smell of coffee, but still, you wouldn't be planning or you wouldn't know when that end is going to happen. So on the other hand, most verbs are action verbs. These describe things that happen, events or processes or actions. The subject of the verb performs the verb. That's why we categorize them as action verbs. So action verbs can be put into the continuous tenses, because when we use the continuous tense, we are saying that this action is happening for a set amount of time, and we know roughly when it's going to end. Here's some example. I am running in the park. She is writing a letter. He is eating lunch. They are playing soccer. The kids are laughing at the joke. So you can see how in these sentences, the subject is more in control of the action, and they can stop the action at some point in the future. So in summary, state verbs relate to a state of being or feeling, emotion, or something permanent. So they can't be used in the continuous tense. Verbs like know, love, own, like, cost, suppose, or care. Action verbs, on the other hand, talk about actions and events and processes, things that happen. So these can be continuous because the subject is more in control of that action. These are words like walk, work, live, play, and laugh. Most verbs really are action verbs. In fact, some of the time we talk about verbs as being action words. Now, there are a couple of things that make this a bit tricky, because you will often see state verbs being used in the continuous or in the ing form, which makes it look like they're continuous. And this happens for several reasons. Many verbs can be either a state verb or an action verb, depending on the context. For example, I think it will rain. In this case, think is my opinion. I think it's going to rain. That's my opinion. So in this case, it's a state verb. But if I said, I'm thinking about the weather, then that's an action that I'm doing. So the verb think, depending on the context, can be either a state verb or an action verb. Another good example of this is anything to do with the senses. You could say, hey, look at that dog. That would be an action. But then if you were to say, the dog looks sad, that's more like a state verb. And then like with taste, we talked about the taste of spicy food. So if I said, hey, taste this curry, let me know what you think, that would be an action verb. So I could say, you are tasting the curry. But if the curry was the subject, then you would say, oh, this curry tastes spicy, in which case that would be a state verb. Also, this is something that people just get wrong sometimes. And although it sounds a little bit awkward, a little bit, well, just wrong, maybe that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to stand out. A good example of this would be McDonald's, when they say, I'm loving it. I think they're doing that because they want to sound a little bit wrong, to sort of stand out. It's sort of an advertising technique, I suppose. Another example would be the song by ABBA, Knowing Me, Knowing You, Da, 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 da. However it goes. This is a little bit different. I don't think they're deliberately being wrong for emphasis or to draw attention to themselves, but there are sort of idiomatic expressions like knowing me, knowing you, or knowing him, which we use quite a lot. So that's another way that you will see the state verbs in the continuous form. So be careful with state verbs. Try not to use them in the continuous tenses unless you really know what you're doing. We do break this rule a lot, as we do lots of rules in English. But you really have to be careful when you're breaking rules, because it might sound like you want it to, but you might also sound like a plonker. Thanks for watching, and I hope you found this helpful. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss future videos. If you want to improve your English, then there's lots of ways that you can join the English Language Club. If you head on over to Patreon, you can subscribe and get worksheets related to this lesson and lots of our other lessons too. There's also exclusive videos relating to those worksheets. We also do group Zoom classes and one-on-one classes and loads of other benefits. We've also got a mailing list which you can sign up to get notified of future videos and future projects. And we've got a couple of projects coming up soon. One of them is I'm going to launch a new channel relating specifically to vocabulary. And I'm also going to start doing a podcast with other teachers and interesting people. So if you want to find out more about that, make sure you subscribe to the newsletter. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.